We are the crypto meatheads. Myself, Jeff Black, a good friend Jason Scooby Theobald. We have our bro Andy Peters joining us. He is our resident crypto guru, and me and Jason are just here with you all trying to learn and get better as well. So, with that being said, we're going to get into our sponsors real quick who support the Crypto Meatheads podcast, and then we're going to get into the market news and some topics that we want to go over, including some coins you want to watch, and especially what is the difference between XLM and XRP? I know I have that question myself, so we figured we'd ask it. But first off, our sponsors, we have newethics.com. Great supplement company. I cannot recommend their gourmet greens enough. If you're taking A1G, try the gourmet greens. It's a cheaper price point, has better quality ingredients, in my opinion, for it. But the discount code is Relentless10. All items that you guys purchase from there goes to benefit the support of this show as we grow it. And same for all the other sponsors we have. I'm going to kick it to Jason. He's got a sponsorship he
Sure.
wants to go over, and then we're going to let Andy round it out before I get into the market news.
Yeah, so I am going to piggyback on that though. The espresso greens in your coffee is badass. So give that a roll. Yeah, so Advanced Vitality HRT on the hat. Definitely a friend of the Crypto Meatheads podcast. You can get in touch with us through the website, advancedvitalityhrt.com. But tell you what, I am one of the owners, and if you email me, Jason at advancedvitalityhrt.com, I'll walk you into the clinic right to our coordinators and get you rolling myself. So that's it, Jeff.
Oh, dude, I love it. Short, clean, simple. So now the pressure's on Andy. Andy, what about your sponsorship, my friend?
So my sponsorship is going to be the Pip Connect, which is a Discord trading community, and we offer kind of an outlook into the market. With so much information out there, you've got all these news events, you've got all these channels, especially on YouTube, which is why I'm glad we're here because we're coming forward with just transparent information. We're not trying to give you
Yeah.
information to better our pockets. We already have our pockets. So at this point, it's how can we get people to level up, not get rug pulled and just further their education through transparency.
That is badass. I want to say one compliment to you, Andy. That Discord group you built there, they're some of the nicest people I have
Yeah.
ever met. There's no flaming, there's no stupid questions. Every question's either answered or just kind of like rolled up into something else to answer later. It's a really great community. I was stunned to see it was over like, I think 16, 1700 people.
Yeah, almost 1,700 people and about 400 of them are active.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see, man. And that's something I've always been big on is community. And I put up with no bullshit. It's like if people are on there and they want to flame someone or because of a project they like or because of how much money they did or a bad trade, whatever it is, it's no tolerance for that. It's zero tolerance that we kick them out. Like we had a guy who's been a member of our community for probably like 3 years now. And I guess he got super, super drunk on New Year's Eve and probably blew a lot of money and lost some trades and just coming on there acting like a fool. And he got banned. And it's like he's out. It's one of those things where it's like we take this serious because there are people who actually have their family on there reading it with them. There's people who are trying to grow, whether it's spiritually, whether it's their money, their finances, their physical. And it's like we want it to continue being that type of family community that we have.
Well, dude, I just want to say it's badass. If you guys are
Thank you
on
so
the
much.
fence about it, because I'm not a financial guy, I hated math. My algebra 2 teacher would tell you how I ever ended up as a coach telling people how to figure out volume, loads, and reps was going to be impossible. But they have made me feel really smart, and I mostly feel very hurt in there. So give them a chance. Check it out. I know you guys will at least learn something like myself, and I know Jason has as we've been in
And
there.
it'll be in the show notes for you all if
Yes,
you want to
a
check it out.
100%. With that being said, let's get into our first big question or big topic we want to cover. So, we is Friday, January 3rd, when we are doing this podcast. We are roughly 17-ish days, I believe, away from inauguration, right, gentlemen? And there's a lot of news swirling around President Trump's potential crypto views, what he might do, what he might not. But what you're seeing is this, and I actually had this question asked from the last podcast we did over on Hard Conversations, where we introduced Andy to our followers of Jason and I, was what is this Bitcoin strategic reserve? And how would that really impact the market for all these other coins? And then let's kind of get into the tax-free coins because there are a few that we can kind of talk about today. But I want to get your opinion on that, Andy. Why does that Bitcoin reserve really matter? And why is that a big deal? And how would that potentially benefit someone in maybe a short-term and a long-term scenario?
Well, I mean, anytime you have, a country looking to do a reserve as a whole, I mean, obviously it's going to increase, the buying of it, which, supply and demand is huge. We only have so many Bitcoin that are ever going to be out there. And the price is what everyone's really targeting because you look at when, the banks and all the big dogs got involved, the price of Bitcoin just started skyrocketing because there was more money to put into the market. So as, the US and other countries start looking at these reserves, they're buying up a lot of it. And then it makes you wonder, is this where we're going to see a change and shift of, the power of money? We've always used USD. We've always been using this cash. Now, my thought is, you'll hear people say all the time, we're going to get into a cashless society. I mean, technically we're already there. I
It's
mean,
been
how
that
many
way.
times how many times have you guys went to a coffee shop, in a little town or somewhere and you want to pay with cash and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't accept cash." Which blows my mind because if I'm a small business, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I want my
Yeah.
cash.
I
Like
want
I want,
cash.
so
Yeah.
so seeing that, it's like, man, they're already moving away from it in a business idea. I mean, in a business ordeal, you go to some places, they don't even have change anymore to give you change. They either have to round up or round down. So they'll ask you right away, "Hey, would you like to round up?" And they're doing that because they don't have a ton of change on hand like they used to. So I think seeing that shift could be good. But where I'm going with the whole cashless thing is you still have a lot of, senators, politicians and things where they're sitting on a wad of cash. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of cash thrown to them many, many of times under the table. So there still has to be an out for that. So I think we're going to continue to see cash for quite some time. We're never going to get away from cashless, I don't believe, in our lifetime where it doesn't exist anymore. But when you start seeing the Bitcoin reserves and all that stuff taking shape, it's like, man, we could get to a point where you're actually spending, cryptocurrency at a higher level. And, relationships already with like Visa have taken shape with, Coinbase. There was a few other, I mean, Blockfolio was on the fence about it there for a while, but kind of FTX crap and all that happened. So I think we're going to start seeing more implementation of cryptocurrency in the banking system as a whole with that.
100%. How does that strategic Bitcoin benefit anybody looking to jump in right now at this point, though? Is that something that you would say, hey, Rob, I mean, obviously, we're all going to say now's the time, right? But like, if you're t trying to think about how to budget correctly to enter, is this one of those this really matters that much, or is this just kind of all
Man,
talk and something else?
I've always been that guy that even, I mean, and Jason will tell you this because Jason was with me back in the day where when people were like, "Andy, when's a perfect time for Bitcoin?" It's like today.
Yep.
I mean, you're looking at the future of it. You're not necessarily saying, well, man, it could if I put in $1,000 today, it could drop to 50 grand, and I'm only sitting on 500. Cool, but
I
you still have the same amount of Bitcoin.
I can tell you all a little story. In 2021, 2022, I liquidated a few things and I had a good little chunk of change. And I'm like, oh, Bitcoin's at, 40K or whatever. That makes no sense. I parked it in Ethereum. I kind of bought a little high and I didn't gain anything. I lost. And had I put that in Bitcoin, I mean, it went up another $60,000. And my thinking was, oh man, at 40K, it's so overvalued. My point is, even at 97,000, where I think we're sitting today or whatever it's at, um, over time, because it's so finite, I think we're only going to see it move higher and higher. So,
It's going to become a flex.
yeah.
I mean, you're going to get to a point one day where it's going to, think about like how we look at the what are they called, the little Pikachu cards or whatever.
Pokemon cards.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. People buy those because it's a flex. I've got a $500,000 card sitting over here. It means nothing in the real world. You're not using it. You can't go out and buy. I mean, technically, you could buy a car with it if you're selling it, but at the end of the day, you're really not using that. Whereas the same's going to happen with Bitcoin. It's going to get to a point one day where it's like you're going to go in someone's house and they're going to have, an address or a QR code or something for people to scan, and it's going to be, their wallet, and it's going to say, "Yo, look how much I have," because it's a show of wealth. And same with NFTs. I mean, you guys remember when NFTs started kicking off really hard? People were showing them off because that was a true flex of money. No one goes around showing their bank account balance. No one goes around showing that. It's always been cars, houses, jewelry, watches. And I think we will get to a point one day where it's like, oh man, that's cool. You got one Bitcoin, you stand out because, I mean, look how many there are versus how many people are in the world. To even say you own one Bitcoin is probably one of the rarest things you're ever going to see because how many people truly are walking around owning one Bitcoin? There's tons of Rolexes floating around. There's tons of Ferraris. There's tons of Lamborghinis. And you get these people who just want that one to hold on to. I think it's going to change the landscape in the near future of how we view cryptocurrency. People are not going to want to spend it. They're going to hold on to that thing like it's the last thing they've got just because of the rarity of it.
So before we get too far here, something that I want to do every episode is give a landscape of the market. Andy, how are you seeing the market in the last few weeks, and where do you project it's going to do in January leading up to inauguration? Obviously, you don't have a crystal ball, but based on prior history and things, where do you think we're at right now?
I think we're going to see a big push right before inauguration, which we obviously saw the market was completely red like
Yep.
3 days ago. I mean,
Yep.
everything was red.
I was
Just the
buying like
coins,
crazy.
I know just the coins that I look at across the board were setting down like a total of 210,
Yeah.
213% down.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, I was like, see, this right here is when people should be super excited. Because if you have the money to go throw $1,000 in all these coins, you're probably going to double your money in the next week or so.
Yep.
And sure enough, 3 days later, I go back and add everything up, and it was 180% increase already from where they were. And I mean, as of today, some of them are still pumping up. So I think we're going to see a nice, lead up into that. Probably after the inauguration, I'd say a couple of days, maybe a week or so, we'll still can see that, growing up. But then I think people are going to start taking a little bit of profits off the tables just to kind of fill it out because now we have a new president in the office. We know he was already in office prior, but now he's had some times to kind of go back and say, okay, what did I do wrong? What can I do right? What people do I have on my side right now? Cryptocurrency is real big. Can I push that? Is that going to help my presidential, run now that I'm in front of the camera and I'm actually here? And that's going to be, it's like I told my community the other day, we're in uncharted waters. If we rewind back to when crypto was at its highest peak, which was around, 2017, 2018, during that last big bull run that we had, especially with altcoins, and we look at the economy, we look at the president, we look at everything, things ran pretty well and we were able to predict it pretty good. But now it's banks involved. I mean, your banks are the largest holders now of Bitcoin. It's no longer well wallets, independent holders, individuals. It's banks. You've got, pro crypto president. He's bringing in people that are pro crypto. You've got, now it's on everyone's wealth management sheet. Their balance sheets are showing Bitcoin all across the board. So it's uncharted, waters, especially for us who are analyzing it, saying, what's the next move? We've never been here. And especially with Bitcoin being traded now. I mean, you're able to go and trade Bitcoin on a ton of, platforms, especially your stock platforms, which is huge. It's going to be interesting. I think we're going to see, like I said, that little pivotal down, and then it should, man, we should probably see the largest run of, altcoins and Bitcoins that we've seen in a long time.
I concur. I
One
agree with
thing I wanted to chime in on the market thing, Jay, with the market analysis is where I was kind of going with that whole asking Andy about the National Reserve and the strategic Bitcoin reserve is you're seeing other countries jump into it. And I'm like, look, soon to be President Trump is ultra uber competitive. He is not going to let other countries start buying that up on us and not make a run at it, regardless of what the current guy Jerome Powell says. I foresee them pushing and shoving to make that happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a change with the Fed with Jerome Powell as well.
Oh, I mean,
I think that's kind of coming in my.
I think he already said he was leaving.
I don't think he said he was leaving. I think that was been up in the air if he would leave or not. Correct, Andy? I don't know. I try to stay not current event enough because the news pisses me off just enough that my whole.
I mean,
day
yeah,
is
the last
ruined.
thing that I saw, which I read up on, said that he was planning on leaving.
Oh, okay, cool.
But since that, I've not read or studied up on any of it. I typically, so the way that I do my stuff, just so the viewers know,
Sure.
because the viewers are gonna be like, man, you should be up on top of this. I give myself the first 2 weeks of the year to almost pull off from all news, all media outlets, everything, because the first 14 days, no one's really doing anything when it comes to the banking, government, nothing. They're just kind of chilling, relaxing,
Why?
coming off vacation, coming off New Year's Eve.
Okay.
So for me, anything that we see is just going to be media outlets throwing out information that's probably recycled stuff that they've been setting on anyway. The real interesting stuff starts coming out the second, third week. But what's cool for us is our second leading up into third week is Trump's term in office. So again, it's going to be wild. I just hope everyone's loaded up, holding on, and ready for some fun.
Um, Jay, with that being said, do you want me to ask about the tax-free coins and kind of get into that, or do you want to have another market thing you want to chat on?
I'm good on the market. I think everyone kind of has an idea. We're up today. And like Andy said, we're probably going to go up. If you're not in yet, you might want to watch. You don't want to buy when things are up 10, 15%. We might have a little bit of a pullback week or two after Trump. Might be a good entry level for you. But if you're in it for the long term, might be a time to get in now. I think things are definitely, you can tell, we all think going to be higher in, 3, 4 months. So I'm good to get into XRP and XLM, the difference, and also anything else you have, Jeff, in the tax-free. And we don't know they're going to be tax-free. It's just speculation, but I'm betting a little bit on it, and so we can definitely talk about that. I think it's a thing of interest to me.
Yeah, it was only the four companies, and they were XRP, XLM, HBAR, and Cardano, other known as ADA on the ticker. If you're
I
looking
think
on
Algo's in
Coinbase.
there too.
Is Algo in there?
Yeah, the speculation was Eric Trump said his dad wants to make American-based coins tax-free game.
Correct.
Yep.
So any of the American-based, and those were basically the top five. There's more American-based. I haven't researched them all, but those were in my top five that I was considering. I already did dollar cost average into HBAR, XRP, and XLM, and I was going to add the other two and be like, hey, if we get this tax-free, even if it's in a couple, 3, 4 years, and I'm holding still a lot of it, that's a damn good thing to not have to pay taxes on money that I've already paid taxes on to boot.
Let's explain what dollar cost averaging is. So someone like me probably wouldn't know what that meant. And I think it's important for us to kind of teach that stuff. Because, Jay, we're gonna have a lot of new people listen to this who just have no clue about financial world. So I would love to hear your take on that, why you actually do that strategy.
Well, I mean, it takes some of the emotion out of it, and it's just basically all you're doing is looking at your finances and saying, what can I part with that is not going to affect my life? Like, we don't want you should not be going into debt to invest in crypto. Let's say you have $800 that you could part with, and you've got those 4 or 5 coins we're talking about, and you think it's a good strategy. Divide it by 5 and set it up in your Coinbase to buy. It can either be the 15th of the month, it can be the 1st of the month, hell, it can be the 30th of the month. It doesn't matter, but set your date the same and then don't think about it. You're going to buy low and you're going to buy high. But overall, knowing what's going to happen with the crypto over time, if you are a believer, it's going to go up. Andy gave something on our hard conversations where he said, I picked some coins in 2018. They're literally up. I forget what it was, but it was some ridiculous profit margin. He can tell you in a minute. But that's the basis behind dollar cost averaging. And we do this in stocks. We do this in all kinds of investing. It's not new to crypto. It's just basically removing the emotion, setting it on cruise control, and letting time do its thing.
Yep. That's fair. And piggybacking off that too, I'll also look at dollar cost averaging as, saying if I got in something, so I'll use XLM for example. So let's say I bought an XLM at 30 cents and then XLM shot all the way up to, its high point was almost 64 cents.
Yep.
And then it came back down, now it's sitting at 44 cents. I would take, however much I went in and then try to buy the same amount of coins for that price. So if it drops back down, let's say it went from 30 cents down to 20 cents, I'd say, okay, how many coins do I need to purchase at 20 cents to make up for what I had at 30 cents? So basically I'm dollar cost averaging on the way down. So when it goes back up, I'm catching double the amount of money, triple the amount of money, 4 times the amount of money. So, if you buy something at $1 for $1,000 and it drops down to 50 cents, say half of that is going to equal the same amount as $1,000. When it goes to 250, you go in at a third and it starts to equal out. So that way, when it gets back up to its amount, you're 4 or 5 times your investment.
That's actually a smart strategy.
And something else real quick. Don't want to interrupt you, but I got this out there. You can do automatic buys on Coinbase all day. It takes the emotions out of it. And I tell people
buy daily.
$10. I tell everyone, this is something that I even do for myself. If I'm going to go heavy into a coin, I want to physically look at it, see what it's doing, see how it's performing. But $10 a day for me is not going to murder my wallet. So I have it set up at $10 a day for like scale. Anything that's cheap. When I say cheap to me, basically anything that's below 50 cents, I'm going in at $10 a day. So like your scales, your sukus, your H bars, your XLMs, your what else do we have on here that I was looking at? We've got
I think algo's at like
yeah,
0.44 if you
algo's
that one.
41 cents and then sand 64 cents.
Yep.
So, on stuff like that, I mean, $10 a day matters when XLM gets to $2 or $3, and takes that emotion out of it because no one cares. You're not having to look at a chart. You're not worried about it. You just know, look at it as a savings account. Every single day, I'm going to put back $100. I mean, some people can't do $100 a day. I get that. Maybe it's $100 a week, and you say I'm putting back $100 a week into a crypto savings account. And hey, guess what? I can almost guarantee you, this is not financial advice. 2 years down the road, you'll have more money in that crypto wallet than you'll have in your savings account. I mean, it's almost guaranteed.
I actually agree with that from what I have
Jeff, why
witnessed so
don't you
far.
tell them your strategy?
So
Very similar.
I've been doing daily purchases. When you were talking about on the Hard Conversations podcast about your kids, you have it set to buy weekly, and that was something you were doing. I said, well, hell, I could just do it daily because of the way my wife and I get paid. I know that about every 6 to 7 days, something's hitting the account. So anything that goes down, it's never hitting our day-to-day life. And it's
Yep.
something that's on autopilot. So how I did this was, and this is my own way. I have, I'll shoot numbers straight. I have 3,000 going into my retirement every month, SEP, because I'm a for small employer and so forth. That's how I have it set up. I take a third of that, and that is what I put into my crypto. So I am at 33% of what I do in my 401k is what I put into my crypto. And
That's
I
solid.
have watched gains be more solid than what I'm seeing in returns for the market. And it's so when he talks about this, I could see where if you buy it daily and you look at it a year, you're gonna be like, holy shit, that beats like Capital One, who I bank with. Right now, I think they're in a mutual, you can do like a savings account, it's a mutual fund based or whatever that is, money markets account.
Yep.
I think the interest is 4.21% on the year right
Yeah,
now,
it
what
came
they're
down.
offering.
It's
Yeah, it's coming
3.5.
down. Yeah. So, pretty soon that's going to hit 3 and 2%. And you're seeing that XRP, some of these are just getting higher returns. So I think that strategy is really good. I picked about $60, $50, whatever that number is, whatever comes out to be 1,000, divided that. And then I have a little extra blow money at the end of every month. And then what's left, I'll just kind of mass purchase across the five like Jason does, or whatever my coins are. And that's how I've been kind of beefing it up. It's been something that works for me.
So for the year, just for our listeners, we've been talking about stellar lumens, and we'll get into that a little bit more. It's up 269%. So if you'd been doing that $10 a day or whatever you can afford, even if it's $50 a month, whatever it is, you'd be up 270% on a coin that is very stable. It's more of a stable coin. We're not giving you really aggressive meme coins, and we'll have an episode probably about that and what that means and what those are. But yeah, so that just kind of goes to show, the power of what type of gains you could conceivably have in the stable coin market. Now, obviously, we're in a bull market and we came out of a bear and it was pretty low for a while, but that's how that strategy can build up quickly for you.
100%. Andy, you're going to ask me a question.
Oh, the user, I mean, your viewer base, are they typically younger, older? I mean, what do you normally see?
I got a bunch of my young gentlemen from the gym who are fans of what we are doing here and learning,
Okay.
and they are not invested all in the stock market. They're going all crypto. We have a lot of people 30 plus that I've seen too, because Jason and
Okay.
I tend to be in the grayer, older side of life. I think we're older than you. I know I'm younger than Jason, so that's all that matters.
Well, no,
But
guys, I'm
we're
old.
but what we're trying to do is introduce to our group because I have a lot of like 35, 40 plus, 50, etc., who don't even know what the hell a digital asset is, who think
Yep.
cryptocurrency is a scam and so forth. And I'm like, hell, I've made $18,000 in H bar that Jason saw me cash out for something I wanted to do for my family. And I pulled that out in 20 days. That investment went in there November 2nd, and I pulled out the first one December 1st and the second one December 20th.
I love
And
that
I
for you.
still have 40,000 H bar coins, and I'm still like positive 8,000 is something as it was sent before we went on. Like when
Yeah,
you
that's
look at
awesome.
the unrealized return. Yeah. So that's why when you're talking the strategy of Jason saying dollar cost averaging, you saying buy daily, I'm like, I can totally see compared to what my wife and I's money market savings account's
Yeah.
doing versus this. And I show her and she's like, holy shit. Like, she was one of them. She'd laugh and be like, okay, whatever you want to spend the
Yeah.
money on, Jeff,
Yeah.
And I get that. It's cool that I'm that trusted, but it was like, hey, look what I did. And she's like, what? She sees next like, holy shit, it showed up in the account. I'm like,
Oh,
yeah, it's
after my
real.
first rip, when you and I, Jeff, had our first rip, Aria put
Yeah.
like 3,500 in, and it's been up to 11,000. It's sitting at 9 for her. And now she
Yeah.
puts $50 again, H bar every week, because she knows it's going to rip pride to at least a buck. So yeah, I mean, people just are unaware, and that's why we wanted to do this podcast, because there's
Yeah.
still so many
Well,
people unaware.
and that's what I wanted to show is I've got this little chart here that I laid out for myself. And this chart is from 2016. And I was doing side gigs, because I was younger. I was able to do
Mhm.
things around the neighborhood. We lived in a neighborhood where people had a lot of driveways. They needed their houses cleaned, leaves raked, and all my friends would make fun of me because I would go pressure wash driveways, rake leaves, pressure wash houses, whatever it was. And I'd do it for, 50 to $100. And I would only do it on the weekends because that's when I had a little bit of free time. So I would knock out like, 5 or 6 of those a weekend. So 500-600 bucks. Well, at that point in time, on my list here of coins I was looking at, I was going all into Ethereum. Ethereum was $12, $15, $10, $12. It bounced around. So essentially, if you figure if I did just say five on average, because I said sometimes I do six, then that means I'm getting $500. So I'm essentially buying 40 to 50 Ethereum.
Wow.
How much was that worth? Today, Ethereum, today
It's
Ethereum's
worth.
trading at $3,500. So if you take 40 times $3,500, you get the math. So
Yeah.
that's why I asked about the viewer audience is, if you knew that you could go do a driveway and that driveway 5 or 6 years down the road would be worth $35,000 for you, would you do it? And
Yeah.
that's kind of
And
how I tell people to balance crypto is think of that extra money. It can be
Yep.
$50, $100, and fast forward, just like Jason said, with H bar, even with XLM. If for the last year, XLM teetered between 8 to 10 cents. And it got as high, as it's sitting right now, it's a 40x return over all of last year. So if every month you were putting in $100 a week, technically you were putting in $400 a week.
Yeah.
So
so
Wow.
I have I guess what I want to say because Andy, you've built this Discord group. You are awesome at the crypto strategies and so forth. I've just seen that. Jay kind of jumped into it. He's got a financial background and everything. I do not. So what happens is when people are asking me what my risk assessment was, I said, well, I'll be honest with you. I took half of my emergency savings fund, which most people would be like, holy shit, but it's at 40 grand, and I took 20 grand and put in crypto. And I bought 10 grand worth of H bar off the jump when it was 6 cents.
Yeah.
So yeah, so do you see where I'm going? Like I can speak testaments, but what I try to tell everybody is I think what we do is and I speak this because I'm like a lower entry point. I might be more relatable for people looking to get into this who've got some money and don't know where to do with the money or scared to. You all act like, and I get guilty of this like sometimes too, that we're never going to work a day again, that the economy is going to collapse, that we're going to be straddled holding all this stuff, but you're still going to wake up and find something to do the next day. And I would breathe through that. If you're someone like me and you got a little extra money in your emergency fund, I personally would say, hey, kick that down from 6 months to 3 months, invest some money, and then work on building back up that emergency fund while you're building your crypto at the same time. Maybe if you got $1,000 extra a month, 500 crypto, 500 back into the emergency fund, something like that. But I want to kind of get into before we go into XRP, XLM. The reason for my passion for doing this is because I believe there's generational wealth to be made here. I have watched this through 17. I've been in it as long as Jay has. Jay's given me tips for a while. And I can say every single year I've never made less than $5,000, $6,000 in crypto. Positive. And I think that's really good money for some people. That's your family vacation if you want it to be. So there's a lot of different ways to go about it. And the one big thing I want to say is Don't let other people shame you for your decisions to do with your money if you've got a vision that they can't see. And that's even in entrepreneurship. I had so many people tell me when I painted my gym walls black that my gym would look horrible and da da da, and everybody will enter and be like, "Oh, dude, I love the vibe." So it goes to show you got to do what you believe you can pull off. So with that being said, I want to get into XRP and XLM and what is the difference between these two, and then let's go over the coins we talked about last week, and then long-term, short-term coins to maybe wrap up today with a few questions we might have.
So you want me to go first on that?
Oh yeah, you're the stud. I don't know this shit.
Beautiful. So, I mean, I'll keep it very simplified for the users here. I made some notes, but I mean, XRP and XLM are both, financial coins. Are going after the financial market. You've got XLM that's decentralized still, and then you've got XRP that's centralized. And there was a big argument over that at the beginning. So, if you were a true like diehard crypto guy, you were not touching XRP because the goal is crypto being anonymous, being backed. Don't work with the banks. Don't be centralized. Like that's crypto wants to be the furthest away from the banks that it can be. And now it's in the banks across all boards. It doesn't matter if it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, any of them. They're slowly trying to get to the banking infrastructure because they know that if they do, that's where the big money's at. Whereas when Ripple came in, XRP, they said, you know what? If we work with the banks, that's going to be our in to become like a coin that people can use. It's going to become a currency that people can trade back and forth. They can use for goods, services, you name it. And that's where they landed. So, XLM focuses on helping individuals and small businesses, especially like in underbanked areas that are peer-to-peer transactions. And while XRP can still be used that way, they're being aimed at more like larger transactions. So XLM would be thought of as this is going to be they're both very quick payment gateways, but we're going to go to a yard sale. We're going to go to a buddy's house. How you send Venmo, how you send, Cash App. That's kind of where XLM was hitting, just that peer-to-peer, let's send it quick. Whereas XRP came in and said, no, we want to be the carrier of larger transactions. Like we could care less about the little stuff. We want to do these $1 million, gigs, these, multi-million dollar gigs or up to $1 billion gigs where we can send it instantly, less fees, faster. There's no delay. And that's where Bitcoin wanted to be. But think about this. When you go to send Bitcoin, how long does it take sometimes to arrive in your wallet?
Yep.
Depending on network congestion and everything, it can take a minute. So that's when XRP slipped in and said, hey, we'll send $1 million, $10, $20 million, and it's going to be within seconds to the individual. So that way, if you're working on big deals, you're signing paperwork and everything, you're not having to sit there and wait. I know for me, when I was buying cars, there were times where I go to buy a car and pay with Bitcoin. I have to sit there and have a conversation with this person for an hour to an hour and a half until my transaction's done. Things have gotten faster now, obviously, but it's like no one wants to operate in that business. They want to be able to send it instantly and have it done. Obviously, with partnerships, XLM works massively with nonprofits and small businesses. They did a gig, with IBM a while back. Whereas with XRP, they're just partnering with major banks and financial institutions. From regulation side, XLM hasn't had any regulation issues at all. They've pretty much stayed under the radar. As you guys know, XRP had a massive regulation issue, obviously with the lawsuit from the SEC. And I think we're finally got that behind us. We're done because they're saying, hey, we want to work with you guys. We're not trying to be against y'all.
Badass. I appreciate that explanation because I've seen all sorts of different explanations online, and I'm like, ask our guru is where I went to.
Man, I like to keep everything very, you know, I tell everyone when I'm talking about crypto, I like to pretend like I'm talking to my kids because all three of my kids are in crypto. I've got a 9-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 14-year-old, and they're all in crypto, every single one of them. They all have their own wallets on their phones. They get, for Christmas, they can get crypto. For birthday, they can get their crypto. They'll go and work. And I posted on my Instagram story last night. My daughter made like an extra $50 working, doing some cat stuff in the neighborhood, like cleaning out litter boxes. And she came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, here's $50. What am I going to buy?" And I was like, "I don't know. You look through some stuff and tell me." And she ended up buying H bar. So she bought $50 of H bar last night, put it in her wallet. So, I always try to say if I can talk to my kids and have them understand it, and I can take that same language and explain it to a 20, 30, even a 50, 60-year-old in a kid's terms, it should make it easier for people to understand, or at least I hope it does.
Oh,
I have a question about the transactions, and maybe some of our listeners would. So let's take XLM because it's more like peer to peer instead of bank to bank. once it's all built out and access, people like myself have access, am I sending XLM then to the other person, or am I using just XLM as the gas to send cash? I assume I'm sending XLM, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. I was just trying to
Um,
make that clear for our listeners.
Yep.
let's go ahead. You got anything else to say?
I mean, I was just going to say, people always ride the fence of XLM and XRP, and they're like, I have to be
Yeah.
one or the other.
Yeah.
I have to be either die hard this or die hard that. At the end of the day, all this cryptocurrency, me and Jace were actually talking about this yesterday on a phone call. Sometimes you can get married to a coin,
Mhm.
a project. You can get married to a passion project and want to be part of it. And being married to stuff can cost you a ton of money. Set your goals, set your parameters, and get out. And that even happens in real life. Sometimes think about this, being married to the wrong person
Yep.
can cost you a ton of money. The
Yep.
same thing happens with coins and projects. It happened to me just a few weeks ago. I took over a meme coin, and I'm sure Jason, you saw it, Purple Bread.
Yep.
Me and a
Yep.
few buddies took it over because the original developer pulled the rug on it. And we built it, had good momentum, had a lot of wells coming in, dumping money. And a $2,000 investment had me up almost 50, 60K. So I
Yep.
went ahead, put a little bit more money in it, caught some dips, got up to like 70, 80K, threw out another project, got in it. And between two projects and about $7,000, $8,000 invested in all of them, I was over $100,000. But because of my passion of I want to be glued to this, I want to watch it grow, I want to help it, succeed throughout, the next few months. People started pulling their bags, taking their profits because they had made so much money too. And then I was left with like 12 grand.
Mm.
So don't be that person that gets married to these projects and says I have to be one or the other. So in this case, do both.
Yep.
XLM and XRP are both going to be technologies that are going to be used in two separate ways that will benefit you. So figure out, okay, here's where I'm at. Here's an exit strategy. Here's an exit point. Build that into your mindset to where when you get to a certain number amount or the price does, you pull and you're like, okay, I'm going to let the house money just set and ride out for a little bit.
I like
Yeah.
that actual strategy.
We talked about
Um,
that yesterday with me and my H bar. It's my biggest holding, and when I need to take a little profit and maybe hold a little bit for long term, but when I need to kind of look to take a little profit off the table since I'm in it pretty cheap and pretty deeply. It was very helpful. So I've got a price target set now that I'm going to unload a good amount of my bag, keep a little bit down the road, and then keep dollar cost averaging in because I do believe in the project, but at the same time, you don't want to be that person holding the bag at the bottom either. So
Nope. And for
eh,
and for people trying to figure out the price points,
yeah,
if you use TradingView,
yep,
you can download an indicator. It's called pivot. Hi- Excuse me, pivot high low points, and it is made by it'll be pivot high low points. And I'll send you guys the link to it so you can put it in the YouTube video, and it'll actually give you like the low points and high points on your chart that typically the market, and I don't care if it's the stock market, I don't care if it's the crypto market, whatever it is you're trading, will typically always reference and you'll win with it. And it gives you the lowest points to get in and the highest points to also get out.
hmm,
and
that's
is
cool.
And I
that
use it.
you use it with TradingView or it's separate from TradingView?
I use it with TradingView. So, like for example, I had one marked up with XRP, and it hit to a point like when XRP got up to like $2.80, $2.90, and it was kind of bouncing around, going up,
Yep.
down, forming consolidation. One of the lower dots said that $1.9460 was going to be our last hit within that range, and then it was going to bounce, and it did just that. It went down and hit like a dollar. I think it was like $1.95 and some change, and then shot right back up.
Back up.
And the same thing happened with Stellar Lumens, where I was a 31 cent dot, and it went down, touched it, and then bounced right in that zone and area. Now it's back up to 44 cents. So not a massive, massive, push from that bounce, but I mean that's a 37% increase. So for the people who have
Yep.
$1,000, you see one of those dots or one of those bounce zones, you put in a grand, you just made $370.
Yep.
So, and
Yeah.
we can do that. We'll do a YouTube video over like looking at charts and marking things up. and that might help some people too. And I'll show those.
Yeah.
To
Yeah, because I
everybody.
have a trading view account, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how, they link in together. So I'll
Yeah.
just I just have to play with it.
We can roll one of those episodes. We'll chat offline to create that and make that happen for
Yeah.
our audience. And this is our first episode. A lot of this is we're figuring out how we want to flow and how we work together. So what I want to do is I want to hold those coins, Andy, till the end. The ones that we talked about in that HC episode to kind of make that like our running tally for if you
Okay.
all are following and you guys want to get in on these coins, maybe start your wallet, your portfolio with us, kind of take this information and start building your wealth. But I wanted to ask, because Jason brought up a good thing my mind immediately went to. There's that whole question of, yeah, I don't want to be left holding the bag. So how do you decide what long-term coins are, like long-term holds versus short-term coins, short-term holds? Because I think that's gonna be stuff that would confuse me as a brand new person who isn't good with money. I get all my advice from Jason and then like a few percentage points from Robo, and then from that I don't listen to anybody else. So now I get to welcome you to my financial advisement guru space. But with that
I've
being
made it.
said, you made it. But with that being said, how would you recommend that? And how do you advise someone as Jason and someone new so they don't get caught losing everything and have to go to their wife and say, "Yo, sorry,"
Yeah, that
or a
well, that's what we're talking
partner?
about, being married to the wrong thing. Hopefully you're married to the right one in that case. She understands. Now you've got to you look at the project itself. So you say, is the team putting out content? Are they staying active on X? Are they staying active if they have a Telegram, if they have a YouTube channel, whatever it is, are they staying active in that? And are they putting out information that's helping grow the project? If you look at a project and they've only made like one post in probably the last 1 or 2 months, chances are there's not much movement there. I would probably say this is going to be short term because a business that's growing, especially in the cryptocurrency market where you're having to always be in the people's face and you've got to send the knowledge out, you have to be active. Now, sometimes, they may just put out, a quarterly update. And if you see that's the history of this coin where they've just done quarterly updates, awesome. Then they're staying on top of it. But again, if you look at an X account and it's like post after post after post after post, and then all of a sudden they die off for a month or two, there's probably some troubles at home. And I would really say, it's probably not going to be the project for me. And then also look at, what's it mean to your pockets? Don't let greed set in. If you get into a project, even if it's a good one, this is what I was telling Jason yesterday. HBAR, great technology. They're staying active. They're wanting to grow their project. But if you got in this thing at 4 to 5 cents and it were to ultimately get to $2 or $3 and you put 10, 20 grand in it and you're sitting on, almost seven figures, I would probably say it's time to pull out of this and start looking for other projects because there's a ton of opportunities out there and you don't want to be left again married to something and miss opportunities. I mean, I tell people this has been an active trader every day. If you're in a bad trade, that bad trade will keep you from entering other trades and taking advantage of others' opportunities. So now you're just kind of stuck watching everything else grow and you're just sitting there hoping that what you're in grows. So you've always got to look out on the forefront of, man, how much money can I take away from this and then put in other projects as well? Your ones like XRP, XLM, Bitcoin, Ethereum. I mean, all Solana, those are all long-term projects that I think are going to continue to thrive. Solana, I was on the fence of it. I mean, I got in it when it was, basically pennies. And now you look at it's $217. And I told someone the other day, I was like, my number for Sol was 315, 350 max. But with all the stuff that they're doing with banks and wanting to be publicly traded and all that mess, it's like, we could see $600-700 out of that. So, there's you look at the overall trajectory of what they're trying to build in-house and say, man, that makes sense. And then again, this sounds a little cliche and dumb, but how to determine what's the next move or what to do. If you've got kids and they're on TikTok and social media, say, hey, if you just watch cryptocurrency for me and tell me what's going on between these coins, if you hear it pop up or you see it, I'll toss $10 your way or something because they're going to see it much faster than we are. Like all the crypto projects that we've seen that have really excelled in the last 2 years have all been TikTok based and it's been social media based. And the kids are seeing it before we are because the algorithm is different for us. I'm 42 years old. So my algorithm isn't going to show me things that a 20-year-old is going to see. And it's the kids that are really talking more about the cryptocurrency projects that are growing than adults, if we're being honest.
That is 100% spot on. And that's a really good explanation. So my last question I have before we go into our coin review to wrap up the first episode, I want to ask this. How do you decide when a person should take profits?
Ah, man, I look at the dots, as crazy as that is. So if you go to my YouTube channel and just search, I think it's dots, wicks, and zones, or you just search Andy Peters dots, wicks, and zones, you'll find a few videos where I've talked about these dots and they're swing high and low markers. And I've used them for probably the last, I'd say 5 years in active trading. And it allows you to see zones in which price will go to for price targets. And obviously, if there's no history prior, then there won't be any information for it to pull from. But if it's new, I mean, if it is older and there's that information there, and you'll say, man, here's an all-time high. So like if I'm looking at XLM right now, I know that we just had a big push to XLM at 63 cents on November 24th. So on November 24th, we had that push. So for me, I'm going to watch this coin. And if it gets to 63 cents and stalls out and starts pushing, closing a few daily candles below, a few daily candles below again, then I'm going to take a little bit of profit off the table because it's like, man, this thing could come back down. But if we start closing a daily candle above that 63 cents, we start pushing 64, 68, 70, then that momentum's picking up. Then chances are I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to hold this. We'll see what happens in another 15 to 20% on top of this number. And 9 times out of 10, that 10 to 15% gets knocked out because volume starts flowing in. And then you see it go from like 65, 66 cents to $1. And then once a coin gets to $1, well, now you've got a sentimental there because people are like, man, this is $1. And it started out at 8 cents. So we could see $1.50 out of it because they start using those even numbers now of, $1.50, $2, maybe 175. And now it's all just sentiment in the market. So I use the dots, I mark it up on a chart, and that's just what I go with. And the fact that I use Trading View, I can set alerts on there. So that way I'm not having to visually watch it every day. I just see it on my phone. And it'll say, boom, it hit the price, and I'll put notes on there. So like with XLM, I have price targets. So if XLM got to 63 cents, I'll get a price target alert on my phone to say, okay, I need to really keep eyes on this because let's be honest, cryptocurrency moves fast. It's not like the stock market where there's a closure and then it reopens. You could be asleep and wake up the next morning and lose 50% of your portfolio. So you have to truly be on top of this stuff and having the alerts and the things put in place, I think will help people, understand partials, where to cut profitability, where to look for long-term, short-term. And again, that's something we can talk about offline that we can show on the charts, which it's going to be a little bit more advanced for users. But I mean, that's what you want to get into. You want to start off small by just, like I said, those daily buys, getting in the market. But sooner or later, the education has to advance because as your education advance, so does your portfolio.
I actually think that the way you just said that is really solid.
Thank you.
No, because it makes sense to me because I'm like, okay, if I'm already up at H bar, maybe when H bar gets to 39 cents, the last high, I'll pull some profits off the top and just kind of like allow it to kind of reset and go because it's been doing a wave. Funny story about the crypto market. Jay will confirm. I did text this asshole at 2:47 one morning my time because I get up early, and it was 3:47 his time. I said, "H bar's moving, H bar's moving. You better get on your phone. Better be watching because we were watching it, and it popped up overnight with the South Korea market or whatever market. I guess the Asia market overnight is what pounds it." And it literally shot up to 38, 39 cents. And I was like, get on there, cash out. Like, get it. And so you speak some truth there. You kind of have to watch it like an animal. But I think the way you said that was brilliant. I actually understood that as newbie to all this. So thank you.
I mean, I've had people go as far as, I mean, one of my local buddies here, he was like, I can't keep tabs on my portfolio. And he was in probably 100, 120 coins, across the set. I mean, he was in pretty heavy all across the board. And he was like, look, find someone that's a college student or find someone that's just, got some spare time, a night owl or whatever. And he was like, look, you watch this for me at night time. If you see it hit this number or this alert goes off or this happens, close out a trade, do XYZ for me, send me a text message, whatever. To some wallets he had access to others he didn't. So he'd have to wake him up, call him, whatever. And I mean, he was paying this kid like $15 an hour just to keep tabs on stuff. So I mean, people get very creative in how to stay on top of this when they realize there's so much to lose when you're sleeping.
Yeah, I know. Remember the Wall Street quote, money never sleeps? Well, crypto definitely introduced that quote to be true.
For our audience out there who may not realize, I'm assuming you can do this in every app, but I know in Coinbase you can set like a sell number. So if it hits, say you go to bed and your H bar is 80 cents and your sale is $1, you can type in how many coins you want to sell when it hits $1, and have that order in there for yourself, just so you know.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting. The Coinbase has so many cool things: recurring buys, daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, alerts to let you know when it's below this price, above this price, alerts to buy at this price, not at this price. It's a really solid
Yeah.
app for
Especially if
brand
you're
new
using their
people.
advanced platform. If you use their
Yeah.
advanced trading platform, it's really impressive.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it, especially with doing it. But let's wrap this episode up, episode one, with our final little coin review. So we're going to carry this over from the hard conversations. And Andy, if there's any little coins you want to add along the way, like, hey, be sure to watch these because these might do some things based on, feel free to. But what we already talked about Bitcoin. I think that's kind of like understood. Everyone should be investing in that. That's like gold. We have the H bar, Suku, Ondo, SKL, Scale, and then there was one more that you had. So if you kind of want to break those down and talk about them and kind of why you see those to be good and where people should kind of jump in today, but kind of like why you think those might be good coins to roll
Yeah,
with.
so I'll start off with scale. And I'm not going to dive deep into the technology of it. I'm just going to go into pricing structure where it's at, and that way it
Sure.
simplifies it for everyone. So scale right now to me, it's trading at 5 cents. Its all-time high was, well, not all-time, but the last big push that we had around the end of December. I mean, the end of November towards the end of December, there was like 8 cents and some change, and then it dropped down to 7 cents. So anything right now in this 5 cent to 4 cent range is a perfect buy opportunity because you're looking at a 2x multiplier, well, 1x multiplier when it gets back up to 8 to 10 cents, which it's there bouncing right now. And again, anything that's super cheap, and when I say super cheap, 5 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents, it doesn't take a lot of money to amount to a lot when those things start rolling in. Ondo, really big. There's been huge news pushes on Ondo. You've had stuff about Trump and Ondo and all this mess. It's sitting at $1.55 right now. It got all the way up to $2 some change, which where we're looking at it from now up until where it hit that point is a 37% gain. I would say, right now is a little high from where it was. When you look at the 60 to 70 cents, it's almost 2x itself. So this is Ondo is going to be one of those, players for the people that have, some money to throw at it. You're not going to throw $500 at Ondo and expect to make a huge bag on it. Ondo is going to be one of those for the people that have the probably $2,000 to $4,000 range to throw at it. Suku, massive technology. If you've been following me on any of my social media platforms, I've been preaching Suku forever. And Suku is one of those I absolutely love. Sitting at 7 cents right now, dropped as low as 6 cents. It had a nice run to almost 14 cents back in November. Prior to November, like 4 months back to that, it had a run to 34 cents. And I'm looking for Suku long term. There's a lot of rumors on the street of Suku's next big move, as to where it's going to be listed next, how it's going to be traded. And I believe right now Coinbase is the largest holder of Suku tokens. So when you got someone like Coinbase behind a project as well, that's a big move. Especially for what has such a low trading volume. Like most things that are listed on Coinbase have a massive, 24-hour trading volume. They've got a massive market cap. Suku doesn't. So Coinbase knows something that we don't. H bar,
Andy, real quick before you move forward, I have an all-time high of $1.58 on that. Possible
yes,
this run or not probably this bull market?
man, I would I would love to see it. I think for us to get back to that type of run would be if the money starts flowing in, because again, it's such a low market cap coin. There's not a ton of coins in circulation that, you start throwing, a few orders of 1,000 here, a couple of 3,000 people here, 10 grand, 50 grand. I mean, you can see this thing run to $1 rather quickly. So it's one that I tell people it's like a loaded gun. We're just waiting on it to go off. That's the only thing. And
But you
then right
like the
after Su
tech. You like the tech behind that
Oh,
one.
love the tech. I love the team that's behind it. I love what they're trying to do. For people that don't know, Suku has a plugin and you can go download it. And it's a Suku wallet. And as long as you've got their Twitter handle, you can send them funds and it'll create the wallet for them. And they log into the wallet with their Twitter login. So it makes it the easiest crypto technically to send because you don't even have to worry about an address. You're not having to worry about fees, slippage, none of that mess. It's strictly here's their Twitter handle. Boom. Like today, I could go to Twitter and ultimately send Elon Musk $1,000 to his wallet. he would get a notification on Twitter that I just sent him some money, and he'd be like, "What? Why this person send me money?" And you log into your wallet, and boom, you've got it. So pretty cool if that's happened already, because not many have done that implementation. Next up was H bar. I'll be honest, I was on H bar like when it was bouncing between that 4 to 5 cent range. I never pulled the trigger. That's my fault. I didn't pull the trigger just because I was like, man, this coin's fairly new. It hasn't been around a ton. We've kind of hit this bottom, but is this the bottom? Because I mean, here on my chart, I have it marked up. It was 4.5 cents in August, and it stayed 4.5 cents from August, all the way until November. So it's
Yep.
like there's not much movement.
Jeff
I'm
and I
gonna
bought.
watch this thing. Yeah, so I'm gonna watch this thing. And I was like, when this coin gets to around 8 cents, we'll see if it breaks. And if it breaks, cool. If it doesn't. And man, sure enough, it broke and just went up. And I was looking for a retracement back down. It didn't happen. So I didn't get into it until 23 cents. And I luckily got into it 23 cents because when it shot down, it gave me one of those dots.
Yep.
And I was like, let's see if it comes back and touches this. And it gave me a dot on December 9th. And then it came right back down to 23 cents on December 19th. And I went ahead and jumped on in and bought some at 23 cents. So HBAR's technology is there. They're
Yep.
great. And like I said, it being so fresh, I think that dollar, range is something really good to look at.
And I would tell those who may be interested in looking at this, go look at their governing council and look at the Fortune 500 companies that are involved. There's some big players involved in the project. So that's what I really liked about it when I told Jeff and I was looking at it, and they just keep adding. So
And then next up was Render. Render was one that I was, eyeing basically when, it hit pretty hard in February, and it had a massive just drop. And it just stayed for a few months, just kind of, stagnant. And it was like 37, 40 cents. And I was like, man, this could be a pretty solid run. And I mean, sure enough, I mean, at one point, here on my chart, when I look at it, it went all the way up 3,554%, which was massive at $13. And now it's trading right at $8. I got back in at $3.50 because I missed, again, that initial push up. Just because I didn't have money in it. I was only on my chart. So that's something else I will say out there to the listeners is even if it's only $10 or $5, put the money in it so it's in front of your face. Because if you're refreshing your wallet, you're looking at your wallet, if you've put money in it, instead of it being just on a watch list, you're physically paying more attention to it than it just being on a watch list. Because like with me, just to give you an idea, I had $10,000 set aside for Render. And if I would have just put in $1,000 in that, I mean, that's a 20x multiplier. So my grand would have been 20 grand, but because I missed that, because I didn't have any money in it, it cost me a ton.
yeah.
Like that probably cost me a 6-figure trade by not having money in it on my portfolio. But looking for long term for Render, I think we'll push back to all-time highs and break that, and we'll be solid. So I mean, a 1 to 2x multiplier out of it. XRP needs no introduction. I mean, there's enough on XRP. Everyone pretty much knows that's just the golden standard right now for anyone trying to get their feet wet into crypto.
Yeah.
XLM, we talked about that one, solid. Don't have to give anyone no more information about it. I will say Dent is a solid one that I like, DENT. It had a massive run back in the day. And I mean, it was when I was pretty much yelling and screaming for people to get in. I mean, just because it was barely moving. It was like 0.0001 is when I was promoting it on social media, and it ended up taking a run for 24,650%,
Cool.
which was massive. Now, will it ever get back there? We'll see. There's rumors flying that there's a possibility of a listing somewhere coming out for Dent because right now it's not listed on Coinbase or anything like that. But if that were to hit, again, being something priced right now that's a tenth of a penny, people would say, man, this is a great opportunity to get into something. They've got great technology. Their technology is around eSIMs. So for people that travel, go into other countries, or don't have access in a country to go into, like, say, a store, they can reload their minutes via crypto. It's basically pennies on the dollar, and they're worldwide. They have an active app in the App Store. They're active on social media. They've got an active product that's gotten tons of news press. So I think Dent's a solid one. And then, like we had talked about earlier, your SANs, your algos, and your ADAs, especially without the non-tax on ADA, is kind of a big deal too. So, and everything that we've listed here isn't expensive. I mean, the most expensive one out of all of them is Render, but I mean, all the other ones are, 5 cents, $1.50, 7 cents, 31 cents, $2, 44 cents. And for people who are looking to invest, I think it makes so much more sense to get into stuff that's lower priced to see those, potential gains to further their wallet and get their feet wet and understand it. But then we also can't, forget about the big elephant in the room, which is Bitcoin. And I still stand by, if you can afford $10 of Bitcoin, you buy it. And people say, bro, why would I buy $10 of something that's 98 cents? I mean, $98,000. Well, because when Bitcoin does get to a quarter million, when it does get to a 500,000, you still have that 5x multiplier.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're doing it on a daily basis of maybe $5 here, $10 here, 500 here, whatever, that number is going to increase as Bitcoin increases. And then, like I said, the goal for everyone that, sooner or later would be to get to a point where you do have at least a quarter of a Bitcoin, because that can be leveraged massively in the future, I think.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. Jay, do you have anything you want to say to kind of close up,
Well,
wrap up?
I did point out, a couple of AI coins last week, whenever we had that conversation. Destra, I moved into, and I'm glad I did. That one went up about 60% since I
How do you
said
spell
so.
that one, Jason?
Destra.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna add that one to the list
Uh,
here.
and then I like Ocean, another AI play. It's down 20% for the month, and it really hasn't popped yet. Um, and then I'm eyeing Near Protocol as well. And then I am in some bigger ones. ICP, all-time high of $630. It's sitting about 12 today, $12. And then AI Oz. Those you can get on Coinbase. So like to me, that means it's a little easier for people who aren't as sophisticated as some of these other ones. You got to go to smaller things like Uniswap or Phantom and some of these other BitGo. So Ocean you can buy right off Coinbase, and then AI Oz and ICP. But those are just I think the AI is going to boom. I think it's going to be a big play. We all saw what Nvidia did, and I think people have that in their mind. So they're going to be looking for AI coins. And like I said, Destra's already popped. PAL had a big week. That's one
That was huge.
yeah, I've been eyeing that one. And I'll be honest with you, I never pulled the damn trigger and I'm kicking myself. And now is not the time to enter. There probably will be a pullback, but take a look at that one. That's PAAL. But yeah, some of the, you can get on, you can search the top 50 AI coins, and they'll bring it up and you can start doing your research on them. See ones that maybe haven't popped yet. See if you, like Andy said, go to their Twitter page, go to their website. Are people active? Are they not? Go on YouTube, see if people are talking about them. Narrative matters in crypto. It does. And so if no one's talking about it, might not be, the best one. But I'm big on the AI and I'm going to get myself in probably a little bit more here. I'm just waiting for a good entry.
The
Yeah,
only
and talking about these AI coins too, something that the users can watch out for is AI coins, from what I've seen, have pretty big dips. So when there's
Oh
a
yeah.
big sell-off,
Yep.
there's a massive push. I mean, we saw it with PAL. PAL
Yep.
was one that, I mean, my buddy Nick, he actually called PAL basically at a penny and a half.
Oh,
And when he called it, I was like, bro, it's a penny and a half. It's a new project. It's not going anywhere. I'm just going to chill and wait. And then, fast forward, the thing shot up to 87 cents. And it's like, that was an 87X.
yep.
All I had to do was put in 10 grand. That's
Yep.
it. But again, hindsight. But what we saw with it was when it had its big push and it came back down, I mean, just in November, it dropped all the way down to 8 cents
Yep.
from almost a 90-cent push.
I think there was
So
some FUD. Something came out
there
about
was.
something going on with the project, and it was all bullshit. But that just shows how quickly something can drop.
And here's the key on that is, Nick had posted about that and had sent me a message, and he's someone too I want to get on the show, super educated,
Okay.
super knows his stuff.
absolutely.
And
Perfect.
he had called me and was like, brother, what do you think about this? And I was like, well, here's the thing, I've been in this game long enough. It's a play on the team. I'm just being honest. It's a play on the team because they were talking about another coin, collaborating with them and doing a coin split and giving people, less coins than what they currently had in PAL. And they were going to let the community vote on it. And I was like, I've seen this enough times. This is a play because if they put this out in the community, people are going to literally just start panic selling. They're
Yep.
going to drive the price down and they're going to come in and sweep
Buy it.
up these coins
Yep.
for 10, 15 cents and push it back up. And sure enough, it dropped all the way down to 8 cents. And the same the same week that it dropped down, it shot right back up 305% the same week.
Yeah.
So
So my point is, guys, if you're looking at some of these, Hash AI is another good one. If you're looking at these and they're up 20-30% right now, just hold. I got in Destra early, so I can just kind of ride it out. I'm up 2 or 3 grand on $1,000. But if you're looking today, you might want to wait and just kind of see. Remember, Andy said he thinks there might be just a little bit of profit taking a week or even a few days after the inauguration. So if something's up 30%, don't go taking our recommendation and buy right now. It'll probably pull back some, but just remember, I think AI is going to be a big one. I think gaming is too. And Andy brought Render to you. That's a big gaming play. Another one is Beam that I've been eyeing as well. So
Sand is a gaming
yep,
one too,
I'm in
correct?
that one.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Sandbox or whatever. It's SAND on Coinbase.
Yep.
and we're going to see a lot of those gaming ones increase too. So
Yep.
we have to keep eyes on what's going to take shape with like a lot of your VR stuff, because with Meta about to release Orion, have you guys seen that? The new
Oh,
glasses they've been making. So they've made the glasses that are VR glasses, and they're true VR glasses. You can watch TV, you can live stream. I could actually do this Zoom technically on VR, and it'd be like y'all were sitting in front of me. And it's not like this cheap version we've seen in the past. It's a
yep.
true working set. So we're going to start seeing probably a lot of these projects trying to get keyed in with that when it comes to gaming,
Okay.
VR, and all that stuff. So that's something to keep on the radar for sure, because when those hit, they're going to skyrocket.
Yeah, something I've been in and out of. I've taken 2-3 grand profits here and there. Is Superverse. It's another in the gaming. It's had some movement up and down over the last few months, and I've just been playing with it.
And that one's on Coinbase, right?
Yep, that's why I like it. Yeah.
So Jay knows this, and Andy, I'll share this to wrap this up. But it was funny you mentioned the TikTok thing. So I literally got near my phone with the TikTok app and was like cryptocurrency, 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 like told it 20 times. And then my whole stream became cryptocurrency. It's really weird how that happened. But anyway, I see on there a lot of XYO and Jasmy getting
Yeah.
dropped a lot by the youth. JSMY, and then the
MY,
other
that's
one's
right.
XYO. I got in at 1.8 cents on XYO. Just I threw $500 at it, and I threw $500 at Jasmine, and was kind of like, yeah, let it sit, kind of see what it does,
Yeah.
kind of see what it cooks. But that's something where I didn't know about them until TikTok. So oddly enough, when you said that, I started laughing. I'm like, I'll put some money here. It's like scratch off tickets to me. If it hits, woohoo, I got a trip that
Jasmine
I
went
didn't
on a
think
pretty
about.
big run about a week or two ago. Were you in? It was like
Yeah.
50% over a few days, I think.
Yep.
No, I wasn't in on that. I got in on the dip that came out of it though.
Okay. Got it.
So anyway, guys, dude, this was a great first episode. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like this, found value from it, please share, comment, tag. I am on Instagram as Jeff Unbreakable Black. Jason, what's your handle?
Jason Theobald _ Scooby Health.
And Andy, what is yours?
Mine is real Andy Peters.
So give us a follow, shout out, take some screenshots, guys learn stuff, tag us, but ultimately just spread the word. We're just really here sharing our knowledge, stuff like that, and just really want people, there's a lot of negativity out there, and the only thing you can kind of control is your actions. And this is something we really wanted to show people the brighter side to it, because often comes with a lot of crap that's unnecessary. So we hope you guys found a little bit of the veil pierced a little bit today, and keep joining us as we go through our journeys of hopefully enjoying the crypto run.
And
It's
also,
2025. Yeah.
if there's things that you would like to hear
Sure. Yeah.
on the show, DM us,
Yeah.
and we will either get a guest to cover it or we will cover it ourselves. But if there's topics you're interested in, let us know. I mean, there's so many different types of cryptos out there. There's real world assets coming. There's, tokenization, just different things. If you want some info on it, let us know what's interesting you.
And there may be projects that you guys hear of before we do. So if you
Yeah.
send that over, it allows us to research them and navigate through them, and then bring it to the audience to see, is this something worth having, it's worth looking at, because more eyes are better than a handful, I can tell you that.
100%. And shameless plug, if you guys would like to join Andy's Discord group, you can also, there's a whole section in there where him and his team will vet the coins, projects you're interested in, and give real information on that inside the group as well. So if you guys
Thank you
want
so
some
much.
more detailed stuff, be sure to tune into that. We will be recording here in 2 weeks. We have Jason's good friend. What's his last name? Nick.
Nick Comodina.
Nick Comedina. He'll be joining us.
He's the one
He's
that he basically just shared his whole portfolio with me, and he's the one that got me looking at H bar. I started looking at it, and that's how I was like, man, this thing's just undervalued. So he's coming on and kind of showing how he's built wealth using crypto, and he's in the fitness industry. So I thought it'd be a nice kind of melding there of the two.
oh yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Hey, man, anytime you get to hear stuff from different people, it's like that was one of the things that Jason and I loved about the Exos Cartel. We would show up weekly, have guests, other people, and we would learn a lot. And that's exactly why we're excited to do this project because I think you, Andy, too, you might be someone who, yeah, you know your shit, you could go head to head, but there's always something about learning something or
Oh,
hearing something said a different way that just matters so much to be the future you that it's always worth showing up for.
oh man, if I can just add something real quick, I was me and
Mhm.
my wife were eating at Chipotle, and we're sitting there hanging out, and this dude walks in, and I was driving my red Ferrari at the time, so he comes in, he's looking around, you can tell he's kind of trying to figure out whose car's who, and he
Yeah.
sits down, gets to eating, and then everyone starts going out of the restaurant. He realizes it's just me and my wife; they're still there left, and the car's still in the parking lot. So he just comes over, he's like, "Man, I gotta ask you, is that your red Ferrari out?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Man, you must be a crypto dude." I was like, "What gave that away?" He's like, "Well, you're wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt." You should be at work. And I was like, yeah, I'm into crypto a little bit. And he was like, yeah, me too. He's like, you'll have to shoot me a follow one time. So he shoots me his Twitter handle and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'll hit him up because everyone's a crypto dude.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone would tell you they're a crypto guy and they hold like $200 in their wallet.
Yeah.
So me and Mahana, we get in the car. I shoot him a follow. We're hanging out. Me and my wife are. He sends me one back and says, hey, we should meet up for drinks sometime. I'm like, all right, cool. So fast forward 3 weeks later, we meet up, have drinks. Dude pulls up, and I think it's like I want to say maybe a 2001, 2002 BMW 3 Series 4 door. And I'm like, all right, cool. He's pretty legit. He's probably old school. Man, when he got in there and started showing me the projects that he was involved in and the money he actually made me look like a peasant.
oh
I
damn.
mean, it embarrassed me to even think that I said I was a crypto dude. I was like,
Yeah.
yo, bro, you were the real, like, it was crazy. And he was like, man, I'll just be honest. I got lucky in some projects. I invested in some stuff and threw all my money at stuff that I believed in, and it took off. And when he walked out, that's where I told my wife, I was like, there's so many people that would frown upon, listening to other people and hear other people's ideas and concepts and things that they have. But for me, I'm one of those where knowledge is power.
Yep.
And when I can
Yep.
hang out with people like that, it doesn't matter how they look on their book, whatever. Like, I want to know what you know because it's probably something I don't know. And
Yep.
especially with these projects, I mean, you guys just named projects I've not even kept eyes on that I'm adding to my watch list because it's like, again, you know, hash, super, XYO. I didn't have those on my chart. So now it allows me something else to get involved in. Who knows? That could be the next banger that makes me a 5 to 6x. So,
Yep.
just can't get enough information, that's for sure.
A
I
hundred
love
percent. I'm glad you're
love
saying that
that.
because it makes me feel smarter and better about myself as I sit here with you guys. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you guys enjoyed our humility, our laughter, and most importantly, our jokes and bad dad jokes along the way. Like I said, like, share, comment, and we'll see you all in a couple weeks. Peace.
Peace.
See ya.